Must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. Hey, welcome to tonight's show, California Haunts Radio. It's great to see you guys. How is everyone? I hope you're keeping cool. Sacramento is 93 as we speak, and as you can tell, I've got my fans a-blasting, and that's going on, and just trying to stay cool at my end. We're waiting on our guest tonight. Hopefully, we didn't get our wires crossed. But my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour, no matter what happens. And looking forward to talking with you guys. I am the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. You can find us at our temporary website now, hosted by Yahoo at www.californiahaunts.org. Let me get in the chat room here. Okay. I'm Marisa, and check out what we have on the website. I'm doing a lot of changes. I'm not only building a website for this show, I'm building a website for the California Haunts team. I had to switch website carriers, so that's new on the old list. So I'm having to do that. We have a pretty good sized website that I'm having to switch over. I'm doing a little different setup tonight because when I move around, it's like the mics only go certain directions. So if I move around a certain direction, you lose me. So I have gone to a 2-mic system where I have one up above my head here, and then I've got one off to this side, so that if I go this way, because I'd like to come up and look at your comments and stuff. So when I veer off to this side, you can hear me clear. The guest, I haven't heard from him since we made the arrangements to do the show. I've been sending him links to the show and information on the show. So your guess is as good as mine. Maybe something came up with him, but hopefully he'll come on. I hope. But if not, in the meantime, if you guys have any questions at all you'd like to ask me in the chat room, feel free to do it, because if he doesn't come on, we're just going to go ahead and just go with it and talk ghosts. Maybe some haunted locations around this area, and we can talk about that. Different places that are accessible to people who, you can just walk in and visit these different places, these different hotels, and I can update you on some of the plans that are coming up, not only for the show, but for the team, the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team itself. So why don't we get into doing that right now? You guys may not be aware of it. My team's been around for a good, let me get in a position here. There we go. My team's been around for a good, maybe almost 16 years. I've been doing this, leading this team. And, in one form or another, because team members come and go, and especially after COVID, because we've had a year off. There's been a couple investigations that we've done that have been emergency cases involving children, and that it is what it is. So we were doing that in the in-between times, but in the last year we've probably done 1 or 2 cases, and that was about it that we went out on, and we had been doing cases right up until the shutdown. So we've got a lot of catch up to do, and a lot of the team members have kind of veered. Some team members, I haven't heard from them, so they've kind of veered away. So I'm kind of in rebuild right now. So I'm looking for new recruits for this team. Plus, whoever's going to stay with us is going to stay with us. But we have a lot of plans ahead. We were supposed to be doing a promo for a television show, and that got put off because of COVID. And so what we're going to be doing in the interim is, as soon as I move out of this room, and over into the small studio with the show. We're going to be filming in here promos for my team. Okay, cool. Hi, Karen. As soon as I get done with updates, we'll start talking about some different haunted places up your way and whatnot. I'm going to be starting filming promos for this team, and each individual team member is going to be in front of the camera, and you guys are going to get to meet them. Each will have like a 5-minute promo to talk about, what got them into ghost hunting and things like that. And so it's kind of like a meet and greet for my team, so you guys can get to know us, get us back out there. And each person will have to go under the camera and do that for me. And then from there, we're going to start going to some of the older hotels and start filming our documentary. We're going to be going back to the Riot Hotel and the Murphy's Hotel and those places like that. We're going to seriously film a documentary and get that out, sooner than later. So we're going to be pretty busy. And then we're going to do some shows, some not only paranormally themed stuff here in the studio, but I have a couple other things planned, like a nightly meditation for people that we're going to go live every night with. That'll be on the YouTube channel as well to start marketing out and stuff. So there's a lot, coming up and going on the plans. But it's like I said before, I'm in the photo video studio right now with this show, and so the goal is to get myself over within the next couple weeks and get myself over to the sound booth and start doing the show out of the sound booth so that I can free up this space in here. Because my real job, of course, I'm a journalist and I'm a photographer. So I had started the process of trying to find some clients so that I could take pictures of their products for like Etsy, so I could start making some money doing that. Put my photography to work. But again, I can't do anything because the space is taken up. It's all radio all the time here. Anyway, let's get on to our topic of choice. Karen Rothstein is in my audience tonight, asking about places in Lincoln that I know that are haunted. State Farm offices. I felt the presence of a flapper-dressed woman. Later, I learned it used to be a brothel. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of these old towns like Lincoln. A lot of stuff. Either the buildings are still the same buildings that they're using, or they're built on the original. They're built on the original foundations. They're built up, or in a lot of cases, the foundations were down lower too. I can believe that there's a brothel out there. We haven't really done a lot out in the Lincoln area. We've done a little bit up in Auburn, but a lot of our stuff, because of the location where I was working, a lot of our stuff was in Placerville and Georgetown and those areas, like the old cemetery, like the one old cemetery up in Georgetown, where we were investigating the night when the police showed up. And I need to come. Yes, I do need to come out to Rockland. Maybe Lincoln. Maybe you can come in as a guide with us too. That'd be kind of fun to get out there. I can tell you though, once you get up in the hills, to see the Sierra Frames shop. It's been seen. I would love to get. We have not done anything in Lincoln. That might be a good start for us to get our feet wet again, and get back up into the Lincoln area. It'd be kind of cool. I can tell you though, just about every town you go up in that gold country, whether it's Lincoln or Auburn or even Folsom, when you get up in these towns, Downeyville's another one, up your way. When you get into these little towns, nothing's really changed in a lot of them, and they are in the old buildings, or like I said, on the foundations, or there's something going on with basements underneath the building, and they're very very, very active. And almost every building you go into, I remember my first day working up at the Mountain Democrat up in Placerville, and how shocked I was when I was driving up Main Street to go cover a story, because I had taken, and I know Karen can tell you what these are. I had taken like 2 or 3 psychic hits. I hadn't grounded myself, and I was out driving up there, and I took what we affectionately call psychic hits, going up Main Street. And what a psychic hit is, for everybody that wants to know, is it affects people differently. But for me, you can feel, I get tingly all over, and I can feel when something's come and reached out and touched me when I'm out on an investigation. And then my stomach will do a flip. and I call it a psychic hit. And so what usually happens after that is I get kind of nauseous, and then I'm okay, because it'll just go right through, and it exhausts me. It just zaps all my energy out, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're going in, and they want to feel your life force as they're going through. So they right through, and then you're exhausted afterwards. So yeah, my first day working up in Placerville, when I was going up to this assignment, I had to go up Main Street to get there, and I took 3 or 4 psychic hits going up there. I can tell you, if you want to see a lot of activity, though, Placerville, Main Street Placerville is a great place to go. It's a great place to go, because every building on Broadway / Main Street, every building up there in the old town part of Placerville has a ghost. If you talk with the people that own the businesses, depending on who they are, because not everybody wants to broadcast that they've got a haunted building. But if you talk to people, yes, the hardware store, yes. If you talk to people in the buildings, they will tell you flat out that they've got activity in those buildings, and it's nothing bad. It's nothing that's going to attack you or anything demonic or anything like that. These are just gold rush ghosts, gold rush ghosts that enjoy partying still. They're like this one place we did in the back. What was it? Oh, when we did the ice cream shop. It's not an ice cream shop anymore. I think it's the all those buildings have changed hands. So I do believe it's no longer the ice cream shop. It may be that forest place where they go to eat. They have that jungle theme. I forget what it's called now. And when you go in the back, there's an area behind everything, of course, where there's storage for the store. And I was back with one of our team psychics, and it had been a saloon back there. Supposedly, that had been a saloon area. Because remember, Prohibition at one time, and you also had a lot of, like Karen Rothstein says, you also had a lot of houses of ill repute for the for the miners. Because of course you had a lot of gold miners up there. Yeah. I want to up this a little bit since it's only me on tonight. That way I can see your comments as they come up. I'm a blind bat. Chilling experience. Bop, bop, boom. But, so there's a lot of passageways that went, and it's not just Placerville that has these. I mean, any old town has these. I know I did a couple, what is this called? Okay. I did a couple places up in towards the Bay Area that were older. That and I also had these. Sacramento has them. All the underground in Sacramento areas. They all led because the men, they were trying to show that they had proper stores and proper facilities for people to go visit. So a lot of them led underground via passageways to brothels, because that's how they could sneak back and forth without getting caught by the wives or whatever. But a lot of these places did that. Placerville is no different. Woodland had them too. Even Woodland. Where the men could come in, have their drinks, and then they'd go through a passageway and go see the ladies of the night. So you get a lot of that. And so we were in the back of this ice cream place, and I was filming, of course, and we had a camera person from the Mountain Democrat with us. And we were doing an AVP session, and we actually picked up the sound of what sounded like somebody taking a shot glass and turning it over and slamming it down on the bar. And we have audio from that, which was kind of cool. And we all heard it. It was funny. We're all in there, and it's all quiet. It's in the dark. Ghost hunters love to do it in the dark. And everybody jumped. There were like 5 of us in the room. Every last one of us jumped. So we all heard it. And it was neat because I was able to pick it up, and I was able to reproduce the sound as well, because there were some barrels some wooden barrels in the room. And I said, it sounds like something striking, shiny wood or something. And so I was able to take, because I carry, one of the things that I'm a person that likes trigger objects. So when you go with me, I have like vodka bottles that don't have vodka in them. You know what I mean? They're just for show. And I carry shot glasses, and I carry poker chips, and I'm carrying all this stuff. So we had, I just happened to have some shot glasses with me, and so I was able to do the flip over and recreate the sound. We also found out with this ice cream shop, one of the things that happened in the back was they had a scale back there, and whatever they were using the scale for. And the scale, even though the power was shut off, the scale would turn on and off by itself. And we actually had the video camera turned towards the scale because of this. And while we were there, in that back room, that scale would constantly turn on and off by itself, and we had the power shut down, to the room. Except for what we were running, of course. But the switch was off on the scale, and it would turn on by itself. So that kept going on when we were in there. I also found out later on in doing research, and it was fascinating to find out, was that at one time, I think it was like 3 buildings, that had been a slaughterhouse. And they had kept cattle out there. They had kept, pigs and cows and stuff like that. And we were also picking up noises from cattle, and we couldn't figure out why. Why did we hear cows mooing on these EVPs? And that's what it turns out, that was a slaughterhouse at one time. So it's neat the things that you can figure out, that you can line up with going over to the town to the county archives and looking stuff up, or in this case the main county archives is the El Dorado County Fairgrounds. They have the main archives building. You can go in there and do research for a donation. But that was one of the places, and I do believe that became the forest. I'm not positive, but I think that became that forest place. I'm dying to, excuse the pun. Those places are really cool. I like to go in there and have dinner. Just not because it's haunted, but just to have dinner in there. But I do believe that became that, because I know after the ice cream shop was in there, it became a different type of restaurant as well. And before the ice cream shop, it was a candy store. It was a big candy store on Main Street. And the candy store actually moved across the way. The bookstore. There's a book, I don't know if it's the Bookery or what it's called. It's still, I believe it's still a bookstore. And that's right next to the hotel, which the name of the hotel escapes me now because it's hot and I'm tired. But the hotel is really, really hot. It is really, really active. There's a lot that goes on there. But the Bookery, the book place next door, Placerville is noted because a lot of the ghosts in Placerville not only will haunt one building, they'll haunt multiple buildings on Main Street. People will see them and hear them, and they know it's the same ghosts. So this bookstore being next to the hotel, if I remember my history right, again, another saloon. It's always a saloon, right? A second saloon, and a gentleman, usually their names are George, so I'm going to say George for fun. A gentleman would go from that particular hotel, Willie, I think Willie or George. A gentleman from that hotel would always go over every evening and have a drink over at this saloon. And so in this bookstore, they've seen his apparition in there. And over the years, the books get moved off the shelves, or they'll be walking through the building, and the shelves, the books will go flying off the shelves on them, or they'll come in the next day and stuff's been moved around. That kind of stuff going on. People have felt, gotten tapped on the shoulder. There's also reports of people walking, or the owners coming in the early morning, and they could hear like China tinkling, like people are drinking tea, or somebody's eating there on China plates and whatnot, and they hear women talking in there. So maybe at one time it was a tea house or something along that. Yeah, really, yes, that's something along that line. But when we were there on that particular night, again, it was for a newspaper article. I got to be photographer and writer for it. We ended up getting cold spots that we were able to chase around the room, and follow around the room. We got a couple of EVPs of a gentleman asking us why we were there. Of course, we kept asking him why he was there. And things like that, and knockings, knockings that would come back and stuff like that. Oh yeah, the other thing about the ice cream shop was that they've got there's kind of like a stairway in the middle of it where the restrooms are, and we could smell cigar smoke. The 5 different investigators from the team were sitting on the stairway doing EVP sessions and stuff, and they could smell cigar smoke out of nowhere. We also had, there's a bell when you come through the door, a chime. The chime kept going off while we were there. Stuff like that. And then we had the water turn on and off on us a couple times. Back to the bookstore, yeah, it wasn't a lot that happened at the bookstore, but it was enough. But see, the people that owned the bookstore at that time had a real wicked sense of humor in that there's a basement area, like I told you guys. Well, what they decided to do was they took a couple of plastic Halloween skeletons and stuck them in this hole in this basement thing so that when you walked in there. But the thing is, they lit it up for fun because they know the history of Placerville being haunted. So they actually had a light in this area. So when people came to the bookstore, I don't know if it's still there, you could look down and see these 2 skeletons that they made look really old, and stuff down in this hole in the middle of the bookstore. So that was kind of fun with them. Pamela, were there any ghosts aggressive towards me? No, actually, we didn't have any issues in Placerville with any of the ghosts we met. That's probably one of the least aggressive places that we've gone for people, because you get these, you do get ones like even the Murphy's Hotel up in Murphy's where you got Eleanor who protects the hotel, but we didn't find anything like that. They were really cool. They're generally coming in from the mines and doing their thing, and they're usually wasted or whatever. They're playing poker or whatever they're doing. The Hangman in Placerville is there. He's still around. He walks the streets, the original Hangman, which is where you come into Willie. And I had a couple encounters with him, and that it was really weird because he walks the same path. People see him walking the same path. He walks from the courthouse up Main Street, probably to what was the jail. But he walks from the courthouse, and people see him doing it. And he's always got the black cape, the black hangman's mask on and the cape. And I got off work early one night, and I had to cover a story down at what would be probably about, because the Mountain Democrat at that time was at the top of the hill, and it was about maybe a quarter mile, maybe 5-6 blocks up above where the main street was. Where the main street is. They've since moved, but that's where they were. And I used to get off at 5, and I'd always, once in a while, I would have a night assignment, like at 6 or 7. So I would go grab dinner, and then park, wherever my assignment was, and maybe crash for a bit because you're tired at the end of the day. And this on one of these occasions, it was at the community center, which is probably about 4 doors down from the main courthouse. Just kind of curves around, and I was parked out there, and the building has, the building itself has these big windows on all the way, like on where the parking lot is. There's these reflective windows, and they face east. Try my direction straight, and they face east. And you can park, and this is one of those deals where you can see the reflection of your car, and you sitting in your car. So I'm sitting there. And I happened to look up into my rearview mirror, and I thought I saw someone walk behind my car, which wouldn't be a stretcher because of course they were going to hold a class there that night, so maybe people were starting to arrive or whatever. But then I happened to look straight ahead into the reflective windows, and I saw the reflection of the Hangman in his black uniform walking behind my car. And he was going from north to south behind my vehicle. And I watched him. And then I looked up at my rearview mirror, and I could still see him going. So when I turned around to take a look at him, he disappeared. But I wasn't asleep. I had done, in fact, I had half a burger stuffed in my mouth when I saw this. And he just went, from one side of the parking lot to the other and disappeared. So that happened when I saw him. I was out late at night one night coming home from Georgetown because I used to go cover stories up in Georgetown. And sometimes, depending on how the weather was, because the road back to Auburn, and Karen Rothstein could probably vouch for this, that one road going back to Auburn is real twisty. And I really didn't want to deal with that at night. And so I would come back past Kelowna and come back to Placerville. And I checked in at the paper, and then I was driving back down Main Street. And as I was coming down the street, I saw him off to my right, and he was coming up, just like they said from the court. It looked like he'd come out of the courthouse, and he was coming up the street, and then he just faded out right in front of me. So that was kind of cool. But you could clearly see him doing this. The old Hangman's bar, Hangman Saloon, which is I guess Placerville's not going to be known for hanging anymore, obviously, because they're trying to pass that law. Or it's already been passed, where they're going to take the noose off everything. But the old Hangman Saloon we did a couple of times. Of course, most of them for the newspaper. And the first time we went was interesting because I remember going in there, and there used to be I don't know if it's even there anymore. There was an upstairs portion to it. And the upstairs portion was, you'd look up there and you'd be a little creeped out because the windows were dark and stuff, and the stairway was real dark. So then there was a door you could go through, and I remember they opened the door for us. And I remember looking in there, and you think about ominous feelings before you enter a location or go to enter into some place. And I looked in there, and I looked at the person next to me, and I said, well, I'm not going in there. I said, it's true I don't like the dark as it is. I'm a ghost hunter, I'm afraid of the dark. It's true I don't like the dark as it is, but there's just something about I'm feeling just really weird about going in there. So we decided to go to the main Hangman Saloon. So we go in the saloon, we're in there, and the psychic we're with said, oh yeah, there's somebody sitting at the end of the bar. He's sitting out there having a couple drinks. There's a couple other people in here. So we started doing our sessions and all this. And I start to do dowsing rod sessions, talking to see if I could do some more communication work and stuff along with the psychic that was with us at the time. And all of a sudden she says, we're going to be here forever. And I said, why are we going to be here forever? She says, because they're lined up on the street. They want to come in and talk to you. So we spent about 5 hours probably talking to them, literally through the dowsing rods. I guess, nobody had talked to them in a while. Then we decided to go upstairs. I finally got the nerve to go upstairs. And let me turn this mic. There we go. And we get up there, and it was a full apartment up there. And there was a bathtub, a bathroom area where there was a bathtub, and it was empty, of course, but you could see where they might have had a stove up there and whatnot. It was probably for whoever had built the Hangman Saloon, or whoever was living, whoever was the manager or whatever, because they used to do that in the old-timey West, well, as far as Bonanza goes, but they used to do that so somebody would live above the caretaker. And you got the weirdest feeling in there because as you're sitting in there doing sessions, you could feel a breeze, and it was weird because it seemed like the breeze was going back and forth. So as I'm sitting there doing a session, I feel this breeze going back and forth, and other people in the room are noticing it as well. Other people on the team are noticing this cold breeze going back and forth. So it's not just me. Then you could smell the cigar smoke, and that was wafting. Remember, there's no one downstairs in the bar. Everything's shut down in that bar. And unless there's windows open upstairs, which there weren't at that time, because once all this started to go down, of course, we're all looking at the windows and trying to see if they're open or whatever, and the door was shut and all this, and we wanted to make sure there was nothing wafting through, coming in from the street or anybody walking the street smoking cigars. You could smell the cigar, and at the same time, as you smelled it, the cigar was going back and forth, like somebody was pacing. Psychic comes in the room and says, he's over there, he's pacing. She's in the bathtub, taking a bath. And he's not very happy with her. He's very frustrated. So they're arguing, and he's pacing back and forth. So when we did our EVP sessions, we actually picked up a gentleman. He kept going, who kept asking the same question over and over. Why did you do it? 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 So it's kind of cool. I mean, you got the three things going on. You got the investigators feeling the cold spot. You got the investigators smelling the cigar smoke and noting that they're going back and forth in a consistent direction. And then you got the guy and then you got the psychic saying, hey, they're arguing, and she's in the bathtub, and this is going on. And then we're getting we pick up the EVP that says, why did you do it? Why did you do it? So it's kind of cool. It's kind of compelling evidence when you think about it. As we left that room and started, because you had to go out the door and there was a landing and then you would take the stairs down. So I stepped out on this landing and I lost my balance. And I said, well, that's weird. So I got up again and it felt like the ground was swaying below me, right where right where the top of the stairwell was. And of course, the first thing I do is I look up and Karen Clark, our psychic, standing there, and I said, "Okay, why am I feeling this sway up here?" And she says, because this is the branch that they were hung from. Seriously? And she says, "Yeah, I can see the body swaying below." So maybe that's what I was feeling. Because the old truth be told, with the Hangman Saloon in Placerville, is that the tree, the actual hangman's tree, is still, the roots and part of the stump is still underneath the building. You just can't crawl under there because it's all yucky under there to get to it. But if you really felt adventurous, you could put a wetsuit on or whatever and get down under there and go see this hangman stump. But it's still there. It's still in the building. In fact, I think when they tore the building down, they took photos out there. If you guys want to do research on that. But that was weird, because there's only one other place I have felt that sway, and that was up in Virginia City at the Washu Club, where I felt the room sway, and it wasn't only me. In fact, Jerry, who's on, can kind of verify, because he was standing behind me at the Washu Club when we felt the floor in the one room sway. It was moving under our feet. We could feel it. But that was the Hangman Saloon in Placerville. That has since moved too, because they shut it down because the building was about ready to die and to collapse on everybody's head. I remember I was getting ready to do an investigation. Preston, I think. We were going to go to Preston. And I went to have lunch, and there's a newer mall where the Rite Aid is. And I stopped in to have Chinese food at this place for lunch on my lunch break. And I was sitting there and having my lunch. And I saw an old Chinese man dressed in, an old Asian man dressed in all the clothing of that period, of that time period back, from the from the gold rush. I saw this gentleman. Let me do this real quick. Okay. Make sure Gator didn't come in. I saw this gentleman go from one wall. He went from east to west, and right in front of me, about maybe 10 feet away from me. Excuse me. And I saw him walk from east to west through one wall and through the other. And that was during the day. Nobody else saw them. The employees were standing there. Nobody saw but me. But I saw it. Stuff like that. Mountain Democrat, same investigation. I got to the point where, I never thought of myself as a sensitive person, even though I saw stuff like at my house as a kid. I was always seeing stuff. But the more I was up in Placerville, the more sensitive I got. The more I did investigations, the more sensitive I got. And it got to the point where before investigations, I would see stuff that was directly related to the investigations we were going to go on as a team. And we were going to Preston. We've done Preston like 4 or 5 times before they started charging. I mean, we were invited for some other stuff. At one time, Todd Wolf and Scott, my good buddy Scott, my mind's like jello. They used to have a TV show, Wolf Manor. And it was about, I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was thinking about something else. But anyway, Preston. We were going up to Preston, and I remember I didn't know any stories about what was going on. Excuse me for losing my train of thought. So there's so many places. And we were going up there. We had planned. Your year was packed. I was going to go up after work. We were going to stay the night up at the hotel up there, and do Preston the next night. And I went to the women's restroom at the place where the Mountain Democrat was located at that time. And I thought, I feel weird. So I looked over my right shoulder, and I saw a woman standing there with white hair. And she was wearing a smock, a blue smock. And the smock had little flowers on it, like your grandma's smock when you were growing up, that kind of smock. And I saw her really clear, and she's just standing there staring at me. And later on, when we went up to Preston, and we were looking at photos of the woman that had been killed by one of the inmates there, it was her. That's what I mean. Weird stuff started happening for these investigations before I go on them. Placerville is a really, really happening place. I can tell you that. The Sequoia. Oh my gosh, we've done the Sequoia so many times. So many times. In fact, on the website, I have Karen Clark is on the website, and she can go into trances, and they talk through her, that kind of thing. And I actually have an literal interview with the woman that supposedly had owned the Sequoia for years, and asking her, how she felt about things now. And, and a lot of the answer was that she liked to sit there and watch people as they had dined. As they dined in the building, because there's now they use it for weddings and stuff. So you've got weddings and all this is going on. So she likes to sit there and watch the people as they're doing all this stuff. The Sequoia was interesting because, as usual, we're filming. We're always filming something. And a little boy had died there. And, of course, you've got other deaths going on. What we didn't know at the time was that there was another hangman's tree up there. We had no clue about this at all, until we did some research and asked around. There's a woman that appears, and I think this is a woman that Karen had talked to, in the women's restroom. And if you're if in the downstairs women's restroom, if you're in the women's restroom and you're in there brushing your hair or something, and you look in the mirror, she'll appear to you in the mirror as you're brushing your hair. And one of my investigators, Janelle, who is the debunker. I mean, she will go through and really meticulously debunk stuff. And I had been coming up the hallway because I had been having things going on in the little stage brunch area. We were having high EMF triggers and cold spots that I was following up on. And the curtains were moving by themselves. And, again, we turn off all the air conditioning and all that. And so all that's going on. So I was trying to figure out what was going on with that. And she comes running out of the bathroom, and her eyes are like saucers. And she says, "Oh my God, I saw her." I said, "You saw who?" "I saw the woman. I saw her in the mirror." And she described her. And it was the woman that's in the photos that you see as the original owners of Sequoia. And so a few years later, I go back, and we're in there with Channel 10. And we're in the bathroom doing a session, a dowsing run, and Karen Clark's with us. And Karen, there's some photos of Karen sitting down on the ground doing this session. And I've got a thermal imaging camera with me. And so I'm taking pictures with this single shots. And up above Karen, and remember, we always make sure that the AC and the heat are off of these buildings. And this is like it has to be around October sometime. And up above where Karen's doing her session, something starts to form on these wooden bathroom doors. And I've got a sequence of probably 8 shots where you could see it forming in sequence as the red thing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger above Karen. And then I also have it going the other way in sequence. It gets to a certain crescendo, and then it starts to go down. And the whole time Karen's channeling down that basement, or not that bathroom. And what was really cool about this was that she was communicating with the spirit of a woman or of a man. And they had said that they had been hung there. And it struck us as funny. And we went back, did some research, and as it turned out, where the restrooms are in the Sequoia downstairs, where these restrooms are, that was the front. That was like the outside of the building. And there was a tree there, and someone had been hung there. Because Karen had complained during this session, which, if you go on our website, you can hear her talking about how she can't breathe. She's having trouble breathing. Like something's crimping her neck, and she doesn't know why. And she can feel the sway. There was a tree that's right outside there, and somebody was hung from that tree. So she thinks she picked up on that. Same day, same session, same woman, because we've been talking to the same woman. I get the dowsing rods out, and I said, well, are you still here? Rods crossed, yes. And I said, can you tell me who you are? Yes. I said, are you buried? Because there's a cemetery right across the way. And I said, well, are you buried in that cemetery across the way? Rods crossed, yes. I said, will you show me where your grave is? Yes. So we pack our stuff up. We go over to the cemetery, and I said, well, keep the camera on me. We're going to walk through, let the rods lead us to where they're going to lead us. And so this is all on video, and I get out there, and I've got the dowsing rods, and I'm like, lead me through, please. And so I'm being led through the cemetery, whatever direction the rods want to take me. And we get to this one grave of this woman. So I'm snapping photos, get what I need, go back in the building, talk to the manager, former employee that worked there like in the 1800s. And they have a record of her name. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. You know? The other things that had happened when we were there is the power kept getting shut off. There was some kind of meeting, some kind of Rotary meeting or something in there when we first arrived. And the power kept getting shut off in the main dining room. And Karen channeled this gentleman that said he was the one that kept turning the power off. You know, off and on. So we've had some fun times in there. And that's a place that if you ever get the chance to get in there, because there is a wine cellar where they sell their own wine, they have wine that you can buy and stuff. If you ever get the chance to get up there at a wedding or something, and you have abilities, it's a good thing to just take a walk around and see what you can feel, because the ghosts aren't shy. They're like I said, they're there watching people. The original owners are always there watching people in the building. So it's a place where they're not going to harm you or anything, but they're just going to watch. And so you can feel them. You can feel the cold spots. You can feel all that. So it's kind of fun to go in there. That's another haunted place in the area. Cemeteries. Karen Rothstein mentioned cemeteries. There's a particular cemetery up by Georgetown that we used to go up to with the newspaper, and because it's creepy at night, and there's no lights, and it's just scary stuff. That's why ghost hunters do it in the dark, right? Because it's scary. And we get up there, and on the way up there, it's the first shadow person I ever saw. Karen Clark and I are driving up there in my vehicle, and normally I would have a camera rolling, but I didn't, because it was dark, and I know the road is interesting going into Georgetown from the Auburn side. And so I decided not to run a camera on my dash. And I wish I had, because as we were going up there, the closer we got to the cemetery, we got up there, and the shadow person walked right in front of my car. And my Saturn Redline has really, really, really good headlights, really strong headlights. And I can tell you that when this thing walked in front of my car, it totally blocked out. Yes, I agree with you, Karen. Karen says she's not a fan of cemeteries in the dark. The light, for that matter. Yeah, I agree. And when this gentleman walked, he was tall. He had to be about 6 feet tall. It was a man. And I remember seeing an animal, going up to work, even on Highway 50. I actually had an animal, a bobcat, or whatever they call them up there, cross in front of my car on Highway 50, and the way it went up, because it went shot right across, and it leaped up the side of the hill, because there's, each side is embankments on these roads. And when this man walked across in front of us, Karen saw him too, and she says, "Oh my God, do you see that? Do you see that? It's a shadow man. It's a shadow man." And I said, "Yeah, it's a shadow man." He walked completely across, blocked out the light of the headlights. Okay, completely blocked out, just like somebody standing in front of the car. Only it was like you would think a black hole in space would be, just no light would penetrate him or highlight anything on him. And he walked across and he shot up the side of the hill. Like the animal did. I even stopped the car. Karen and I got out to see what it was like. Okay? No one out there for miles. And both sides of the road had embankments going up. And this thing came across and did that. Get up to the cemetery, and we go to the cemetery. And of course, people, you'd be surprised how many dead don't hang out at cemeteries. You'd think they would. Sometimes they do, but that one's a fairly active cemetery. There's just folks hanging out, talking to each other and stuff. Nothing bad, nothing evil up there. Just which is why we would go up there to get EVPs and stuff with the media. But if you guys want to hear another kind of more scary story about a shadow man, I actually have one. I've seen 3 shadow men. My phone's ringing. I don't know who in their right mind would call me during a show, but I'm going to punish them. But anyway, so that's the Placerville area, and we've done some other stuff up there, but that's the lowdown on where we've had the main places. There's another store up on Main Street that we did where they have there's an old man and a dog that hangs out in the store. They're harmless. They're just harmless. They hear knocking sounds and whatnot. Carey House Hotel, we've done that. Where we've actually been upstairs and we've talked with a couple of the ghosts up in the Carey House. That's another place to take a look at, the Carey House, when you're up in Placerville. So like I said, Main Street is a plethora for ghosts. Now, if you guys want to hear about the second Shadow Man, the most dramatic Shadow Man encounter that I had, and it wasn't only me, it was the whole team. I had 10 people up there with me who saw this Shadow Man, and this was up in Columbia, and it was at the Fallon Hotel. And there's a build-up story to all this. I was driving up with Rose on our team, and as we were going up, we got the weirdest feeling in the van, like someone was in the van with us as we were driving up there. And first thing I thought, I don't know, Karen Rothstein has discovered this. If you guys, I'm going to veer off a little bit. If you guys want to feel a ghost or feel someplace where something has happened, Sacramento is a good place to do this. All the fatal accidents on the freeways. One thing I found you can do, especially like on these real hot days, is roll the windows down in your car. Okay? Turn your AC off. I know it sounds horrible, but roll the windows down in your car. Because you can drive through cold spots on the freeways where a fatal accident has happened. You could feel the cold spots on the freeway. I've done this time and time. I've taken people out to do this to prove it. You can actually feel cold spots on the freeway where there's been a fatal accident. And if you feel a cold spot, you can go back through, get online and Google and find out there was a fatal there. But you can do this on the freeway. So we're driving up there to Columbia. Twisty roads, always twisty roads everywhere you go up there, down those areas. And we felt like somebody was in the car with us and we couldn't figure it out. And my first thought was, well, because we could feel like it would get really, really cold in the car. And my first thought was, well, maybe there was a fatal accident up here that we're not aware of. So I get on the phone, I call Nancy Matz. And of course, cell phone was cutting in and out. And she says, yeah, there's someone in the car with you. And she says, it's a man, and he doesn't seem like he's very happy about you going up to the hotel. And I said, well, I'm just going to ignore him and drive. So I kept driving. Got up to the hotel. And she says, he's in the car with you right now. You might want to tell him to get out. He seems like he's kind of semi-aggressive. Very interesting. And so I yelled at him. I do what every tried psychic ghost hunter does, is I yelled at him to get him out of my car. And he went. So we start to go to the hotel, and we start knocking on the door to get in, because they were closed down that day. And no one's answering. And we're pounding on the door, and we're like, hey, we're here. California Haunts is here. Nobody heard us in the hotel. And we were loud enough that the hotel down Main Street, which is probably half a block, the manager from there came down to let us in. They heard us. So we opened the door of the hotel, And the manager that runs the hotel was just 2 rooms away, but she didn't hear us. Weird stuff going on. So whoever this man was, he just wasn't happy with us coming into this hotel. So we go in, enter the hotel. I never use restrooms in haunted hotels. It's a rule, because a lot of even though the rule is ghosts are attracted to water, and a lot of the time you'll get a lot of haunted restrooms in places because that's where all the water is. And even though they changed the plumbing in a hotel, that's just the top part of the plumbing. The old plumbing's still underneath, unless they dig the whole damn thing up, So you still got that old plumbing. So we go in the hotel. I had to go to the bathroom. Rose is taking a tour with the manager. They go down, and off to the side of this hotel is really cool. There's a theater next door, and there's an ice cream shop where they do sarsaparillas and all this. Off to the side. So they go down the stairs to the theater, and the manager of the hotel got pushed down the stairs. Something wasn't happy with us. I know Pamela was asking about aggressive. This was aggressive. And so they came back up, and I said, oh boy, it's going to be a fun night. So everybody started showing up. And we started doing our investigation, and we had a lot of electrical problems. And then we had a couple employees that were buttheads too, that would turn the power off on us and stuff to try to scare us. And of course we were aware of that. But there was other stuff going on as well, like cameras that wouldn't work. Cameras that work all the time, you get them hooked up, they're not working. Stuff like that was going on. Real frustrating electrical problems, which is normal on investigation, par for the course. It's just a given you're going to have these problems. So we just kind of blew through it, kept setting stuff up and whatnot. And we start communicating with this gentleman, this ghost. And he proceeds to tell us he wants us to stay out of one particular room. Okay, fine. I'm not going to fight with anybody. I don't want to get attacked or anything like that. So I said, yeah, let's just kind of stay out of there. So then things started to go really good for the night. Where we were going room to room and doing our investigating and all this, and little things were happening. And there's thought that there's a little boy that's there that plays with toys and people see him all the time. So of course I brought trigger objects for that, and all this is going on. So we decided to go in that room because the little boy was supposed to hang out in there. And I asked the ghost nicely. I said, look, we're not going to harm anything. We just want to try to talk to the little boy. We go in there, and nothing happened. We did our little EVP session, come out of there, and we go down to where they serve the sarsaparillas and the ice cream. And I was having fun because I had some flashlights, and so I put, to try to do communication with flashlights and dowsing rods. So I thought, let's try something fun. And so I put the one flashlight behind me, I put one off to the right, off to the left, and one across the room. And I was doing yes, no questions communicating, like, okay, that flashlight over there is a yes, this flashlight over here is a no, that one behind me is a maybe, blah, blah, blah. And so I was communicating that way with them, with the lights going off at different intervals to answers, along with the dowsing rods. Got that done, decided to go into the parlor of the hotel, and my back was to a long hallway. And it was dark, right? It's dark. We're sitting there. The only light we had coming in was from the door. The door in these hotels are beautiful because this one was cut glass. So any light coming in from the street was all cut glass. So it was really beautiful, really beautiful. There was a street light right out there, so it was really, really gorgeous. And so we could see each other pretty clearly, And Rose looks up, and I'm doing my session, my dowsing rod session, and she says, Charlotte, there's a dark shadow coming up the hallway. And I thought, it's 2 a.m. Maybe we're tired. Maybe we're seeing things. Fine. So I kept doing my EVP session. And as I looked off to my right, because I watched my team, everybody got silent. Everybody's head went off to the right. And they were all staring. I look over there, and there's a man standing there. He couldn't have been more than 6 feet away from me. Shadow man, about 6 feet tall. Standing there. And he walked in and stopped to stare at us deliberately. He was watching us. And we all saw him. So all of a sudden the team erupts like, hey, get out of here, we don't want you here. Everybody felt he was sinister. I felt there was something sinister going on with this guy. And so we all, get out, in the name of this, in the name of that. Get out, be gone. We watched him walk another 7 feet, 8 feet to that door, and he went through the glass of the door. He blocked all the light in that door as he went through. So I waited a couple minutes, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go back, finish my session, because we're going to be either going to sleep or we're going to get out of here and go home anyway. This is the end of the night. So I go back to doing my session. And I see him. He's outside the door. And I'm watching him as I'm doing my session. And danged if he didn't come back through that door and stop again to see what we were doing. Again, everybody erupts. Oh my God, well, go, you gotta leave. We don't want you here. Blah, 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 blah. So he disappears again back in the dark hallway. So we wrap up. We kind of stayed there for that night, wrapped up early in the next morning, and then drove home at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I get home. It's like probably noon, 12, 1 o'clock, something like that. And I'm exhausted, so I lay down on my couch. And I'm kind of in that, that state where you're half asleep. All of a sudden, I feel this heavy weight on me. And I'm thinking it's my dog. I'm thinking, oh, it's one of the dogs. I'm not going to worry about it. But I could feel it. And I felt hands right here. Something had me just right in this area. And I'm like, I'm thinking, that's not my dog's. So I reached up, and I could feel the arms that were there. And I pushed as hard as I could. Like this, and then the weight came off. And I remember jumping up, and I was just yelling. I was just, get out of my house! You don't belong here. I don't know who the hell you are, but you don't belong here. And I guess he left. I guess he took off. Talked to one of my psychics later on, one of my psychic friends later on, and she told me that I reminded him of someone that he knew. Obviously someone he didn't like. A lover, a woman that he knew back in the 1800s, that he didn't like. The interesting part of all this, and I am going to put together a thing for the website, is because I happened to be watching The Haunted Collector a couple weeks ago. The reruns. They went to that hotel. They had the same thing happen to them with this man. And they actually had photos of the woman that this man was angry over. So that was kind of cool, to have the same kind of activity and everything happen to John Zavis and his team that happened to my team when we were at the same hotel. So I'm going to be writing something up on that, because that was, I even emailed him to say, hey, you know what, John? Wow, because everything that happened to you guys with the Shadow Man and everything happened to us when we were there on site. So that was kind of cool to confirm, But see, you can go to that hotel and visit. There's also another one in that town that's haunted. But you can just walk in the lobby and visit the hotel. Murphy's Hotel in Murphy's is another one that's easy access. They have a new wing. They have a new wing where you can stay in newer places, or you can stay in the old area of it, upstairs, where it's active. But the ones in Murphy are completely different. There's nothing aggressive in Murphy. Just at the Fallon Hotel, whoever is buzzing in that guy's cowboy hat, Murphy's is fun because they're still playing poker. They're still up there playing poker in the rooms. In fact, I have video of us playing ethereal poker with these ghosts. To the extent that we're on this particular bed playing, we're playing poker with them, and I leave an open area for the ghost to sit, and we're dealing cards and stuff. And when the ghost got a winning hand, he turned the lights on and off in the room. I guess he got so excited he drained the energy down the room, turned the lights on and off. And we got it all on film. It's stuff like that. And then when you compare that with what the employees see, like the one room they go into, and then she sees the men playing poker in the room. All kinds of stuff. You can go into the Murphy's Hotel and go up to the desk and ask them stories. They keep a running list of the activity in the hotel. That's a great place if you have to go somewhere on a Sunday. and you live in this area, to go up to Murphy's and check out that hotel and just walk the halls, because you will more. If you're psychic, you're going to hit on all kinds of stuff. And if you stay the night, you do EVP sessions just in your room, or maybe in the hallways, or maybe ask them to let you in the Mark Twain ballroom, you're going to get something in there. There's just no other way. We've got footage that I don't post a lot because, there's a lot of debunkers out there, and I know it's solid footage because I've had a lot of my team look at it too. But I just don't want to go through that and the people involved be embarrassed. But I have footage of one of our investigators who, right in front of us on camera, I don't want to say the word taken over, but the ghost actually went into his body right on camera. And you can see it. You can see where he's talking to our psychic who's sitting right next to him, and then all of a sudden he gets blurry. And I even tell him he's blurry. I say, Jose, you're blurry. And he says, I know, something's here. I don't feel so good. And then as this goes on, and the psychic chimes in and says, oh, it's so-and-so. Jose says, sir, you do not have permission to be inside my body. I did not give you permission to do this. And right after he says that, he clears up. There's nothing there. So I caught that as well. But the Murphy's Hotel, they've had, Mark Twain has stayed there. A lot of the people asked her. John Jacob asked her. A lot of people that were on the Titanic. It's kind of scary because a lot of people that were on the Titanic had stayed there at one time or another. But that one's easy access to get to. President Grant stayed there. And it's really an active place. The Mark Twain Ballroom alone, you could be in there and be sitting there and you could hear stuff falling in the kitchen while you're sitting there, just having a conversation. In fact, the employees in there report that the drapes open and close by themselves, that they see them. Or the tables get rearranged in there. Stuff like that goes on. And again, the beds, the beds will unmake, the beds will remake. That kind of stuff go on. And then they see the apparitions all over the hotels. Eleanor, who at one time was the head maid there, still thinks she's the head maid there. And she shows up all the time to people. People will be having dinner in the main dining room. And I'm talking like the room's full of people eating. And they'll look over by the window and they'll see a woman standing there in period clothing. And they'll mention it to the server saying, hey, it's really cool that you have a reenactor here. And the servers will go, well, that's not a reenactor, that's Eleanor. She looks over the hotel. We were told by one of the maintenance guys that stays there overnight, because there's always a night guy there. And he says that one time these two guys had gone in there to steal stuff out of the hotel because they leave the front door open for the guests to come and go. And he happened to come in, and they were running down the stairs towards him, and they were all white-faced. And he says, what are you doing here? And they said, well, we're getting the hell out of here. We don't want to be here. We just got chased downstairs by this woman, and she was really, really mad at us. So Eleanor had chased them downstairs because there was no one else staying in the hotel at that time. She has a tendency, if she doesn't like you, she'll lock your doors on you so you can't, go into your room. I had that happen once, then I had to make nice with her. There's John, Mark Twain Ballroom. Karen and John are good buddies. And that's funny because one time we were on a conference up there, and we were doing sessions down in that Mark Twain up in that Mark Twain Ballroom, and we got an EVP of what sounded like Karen's husband. And I had a lot of concerns because I thought maybe something happened to him. So I had her call home and stuff, but it said, I love you, and it sounded just like her husband. Because you could hear her go, I love you, John, and then he says, I love you back. But we've had people touched during EVP sessions, literally, caressed. Well, they're minors. What are you going to do, especially if you have young people with you? Stuff like that goes on there. So you hear stories, you can talk to the employees, they'll tell you all kinds of stories about, the activity in that place. Lots of activity in that place. But it's all good. It's all good. It's not anything aggressive or anything bad like that. I'm still trying to think off the top of my head stuff. I mean, we've been there so many times, and there's just so much that's gone on that we've been able to document. And there's stuff that we've been able to debunk too, like the reports in the one room where the faucets turn on and off by themselves. Where people be laying in bed and hear the faucets. We discovered that the plumbing, the pipes expand at night, and it sounds like water running. So if you're half asleep and you're laying in bed in any of the rooms, it might sound like that there's water running, because there's only a couple rooms that have like water in them. Actual faucets. The rest is it's all communal bathrooms. But if you're laying in bed, it might sound like the faucet's running, when in reality it's the pipes expanding in the walls and stuff. So we've been out there and debunked a lot of stuff too. But the stuff we haven't been able to debunk out there is just pretty cool. It's a pretty cool hotel. I mean, we've got lots of EVPs out there talking to these miners and stuff, about what they do. And they'll describe, a lot of the time you get one-word answers out of them or whatever, about what they did when they were alive. So it's kind of cool. But they're still all partying. They're in there partying. It's like at the saloon like they always have. It makes no difference. Anyway, we've been on for an hour. Hope I didn't bore you guys to death. I'll have to find out what happened to our guest. It's kind of a bummer, but okay, I'm good with it. We did a show. Anyway, thanks guys for coming. Monday we're going to have, I'm pre-recording the show Friday. So Monday we're going to have a pre-recorded show. Come on, and that'll be on YouTube. And we have a natural healer that's going to be on. Brandy Gilmore is going to be on with us and talk about some natural healing stuff. Everybody's popping pills and doing all this that they're getting from the doctors. It'd be kind of nice to hear what kind of natural remedies there are for the stuff that ails us. So she'll be on at Monday evening at 6:30, the usual time. That'll be a pre-tape show. But here's a fun thing. You guys have a lot of you have my email, you have my Facebook. If you want any certain questions of me to ask this natural remedy lady, if there's anything you want me to ask, shoot me an email and I'll go ahead and ask during the interview that I do on Friday. So you can kind of be involved with all this too. But I thank you for coming, and hope I was entertaining and not just boring and wonky. But I'll have to find out what happened to my guest tonight. Maybe get him rescheduled. But okay, guys, I will see you. Hang on, let me cue it up here. There we go. I want to cue it. I will see you on Monday. Okay.